Hi, I'm Sharon Spangler. Thank you for joining us on this Reno TV. I'm here at Reno City Hall, and my guest is John Flansburgh. He's the Public Works Director for the City of Reno. And we're going to talk about the sewer system, which is a subject that most people really don't think a whole lot about unless they're having a problem. But today we're going to talk about that. And I understand that the city is asking for a rate increase. So I thought it would be a really good idea to talk a little bit about the history of the current sewer rates and just exactly what those fees are used for.
Certainly. Well, the sewer enterprise is one of the functions of Public Works, and that function covers not only the treatment of the sewage when it goes to the plant, but actually the collection, so from the home once it gets to the main and the streets, and taking it to the treatment plants, but it also covers all of our stormwater. So it has our drainages and our catch basins and the routine maintenance that we have for those. And so that's a general overview of what we have for the maintenance and operation of the sewer system.
Right now you have a project going on at Oliver Montella, which is my understanding it's the first project where you've actually coordinated with the neighborhood street project, so you could open the street up all at once, redo all the pipes. Why are you redoing that, and is there a real problem in the city with an aging sewer system?
There is a problem with aging sewers. In this particular neighborhood, we actually have the sewer that goes to the back of the houses. And so when we have to go in and do maintenance, we were having to go through people's yards. It was a small system. Everybody was there. We couldn't get our large equipment back in there. And when we had a problem, a blockage, we actually had to get a crane and lift a little excavator up over the homes.
Wow.
To set it in the backyard to do the work. And so fairly obtrusive, lots of fences, you can imagine more mature landscaping. This particular subdivision in Oliver Montella was built in the 1940s. And so this project is actually taking the sewer lines, putting them back out into the streets and replumbing the house to go, instead of sewering to the back, sewering towards the front to the street. The reason we needed to do that was because that system was failing. We were having more and more maintenance problems. In fact, we had some areas that we weren't even comfortable going through with our jetting process to clean them because we were worried that we would do more damage than good. And so this allows us to take this area out, put it out in the street where we have full access to it.
I would imagine if you have a failed system, that just has a multitude of problems.
It does, and nobody wants, we like the sewers to operate from our homes and take it away, and no one likes it when it doesn't go away. So, and the coordination you mentioned with the streets, this is one of the first projects we've had to coordinate them both. We always coordinate the sewers and other utilities with our work, but this is one where we're actually doing the project combined rather than doing the sewer work out in front, maybe a year or so, and then coming back with the street work.
Which is going to be great for that neighborhood because nobody wants to have their street closed off and all that construction going on for any more than they need to.
It's a large impact, but it's one impact instead of a multiple year impact.
What is the current sewer fee structure? What sort of increase are you seeking right now?
Well, back in 2005, there was a study completed, and at that time the rates were increased 25%, and then every October they were increased by 4%. And so we've been going under that model now for the last six years, and what we found is we're still just not catching up with the infrastructure as we need to. We've reviewed our costs, and through reviewing our costs, we were able to actually reduce the amount at our treatment facilities, but just the treatment of the sewage to the plants still accounts for over 50% of the overall operating cost of our sewer rates. And so it's just it's analyzing our processes, making sure that they're as efficient as possible, but also looking at our needs for our infrastructure and making sure that we get those replaced.
How is this proposed rate increase going to affect the homeowner and the business owner?
We are not going to change the method of how rates are assessed. That'll stay the same. It's strictly just a percentage increase. So what we are proposing is, rather than a 4% increase each year, that we go to 8%. So for a homeowner, let's say that currently set up for the 4% would be a $1.18 increase come October. What we're recommending is to actually go to $2.36 in October, and to do that 8% increase each year for 5 years. One of the other options we talked about doing was doing it all at once, but that would be almost a 30% rate increase at one time, and then just adjusting it by CPI or Consumer Price Index every year thereafter, similar to what Washoe County does.
Have you taken a look at the numbers to see what would happen if you didn't raise the rates? Would that end up costing the city more money in the long run? I know we just talked a little bit about the Aller Montello and failing systems there. When a system fails, does that end up really costing a lot?
When you can plan for the replacement of the lines before they fail, then your costs are going to be the most efficient. If you have to go out there and repair a line after it has failed, then your costs are much higher because it's very much an emergency or an urgency in getting that work done. And so you're working maybe longer hours, it's not as structured as it would be, and it's not as orderly, and it's much more of a surprise. We'd rather not have those kind of surprises. So we want to go out there in an orderly fashion and be able to replace the lines. We did look, if we didn't do anything at all and just left the rates the way they are, we would have about $39 million over the next 5 years for infrastructure improvements. We've calculated that we have over $120 million worth of improvements that we need to make in the next few years. It would be our recommendation. If we raise the rate, what we're proposing, it'll get us about halfway, get about $60 million. But at the end of the 5 years, we would have $80 million every 5 years thereafter. And then we believe that that would be enough to help us catch up.
Similar to what's going on with the neighborhood street program. If anybody's been around here for any length of time, the city streets were in such bad shape. I remember former Mayor Pete Sferrazza was called Pothole Pete. The streets had gotten into such bad shape that it ended up costing the city a bundle to even catch up. And now we have a good system in place where we rate the streets and we do them in an orderly process. Is this going to be something similar to that?
What we very much want to do is make sure that we have the money available to replace the sewer lines when it's ready and work with the streets at the time. So we're not coming back 5 or 10 years after a street project goes in and have to cut the streets again for the sewer replacements. So we're really trying to time those together because they do have different cycles of degradation. The sewer lines usually last much longer than the streets will last. But if we can get those on timing so we can get that work done at the same time, we'll be more efficient and we'll save money in the long term.
What is the length of a sewer line? I know that some of the old stuff was concrete and you're probably still pulling some of that out, but the new, what is it, PVC pipe that they put in, what's the length of that, the life of that?
40, 50 years is standard time for sewers in general. I don't know that we have had anything in the ground long enough to determine if it's, what exactly that will give. And there's a lot of things that play into that. We're always fighting things like tree roots or other plants. We're always have where new growth comes in and how that would affect those lines. But primarily we'll get 40, 50 years.
What is the role that development plays in all of this?
Well, obviously, development coming in, they're responsible for putting their own sewer line, own collection system components in. However, if they're building a subdivision out on an edge, let's say, they have to have enough capacity for the sewer to go all the way to the plant. And so there's improvements that we need to make sometimes to make our lines bigger for that added capacity. In order to do that, they pay a connection fee. And so our sewer really has two sides. There's the user fees, what people are paying on their quarterly billings that they receive, but we also have the connection fees when they make a major change to a location or when they're putting in new infrastructure, new businesses, new homes. And those fees are what pay for that growth.
We talked a little bit about some of the functions of the sewer system with the city, and it goes beyond just your sewer line. It's also all of those storm drains, and there's a lot of work to go in and go into the catch basins and clean them out. The maintenance of the sewer lines, we're going to show some video of the guys out there working. They actually put cameras down to check the sewer line to see if there's any obstructions and things like that. So there's really quite a bit that is involved in this.
There is. If you're on the west side where we have a lot of ditches, ditch companies and the irrigation that occurs with those, we have a certain amount of maintenance that we have that goes into that work. If you live in the north, we may have drainages that come down, that come into the Truckee River, and we have projects that we're working on to improve the quality of that water before it enters the Truckee River. If you live on the east side, we have Boynton Slough, and we go out there and pick up trash and keep those areas in a good shape and have that associated work with drainage. So it really does encompass a lot of work in all different parts of the city.
I know we recently got a little note on our Facebook page from a homeowner that wanted to thank the guys that do the public works maintenance on the sewer lines for helping to prevent a backup at a storm drain in the neighborhood. So I thought that was kind of neat that people do notice when something positive happens.
They do, and I know our staff sometimes they don't get a lot of that recognition out there because mostly when things are working well, nobody sees us and we're just in the background. But we do a tremendous amount of work, and we're really proud of the folks that go out there and do that work every day. They really do have the best interests of the community in mind.
I know, they're a bunch of great, hardworking employees. How is the sewer rate being affected by all of these foreclosures in the area? We
certainly are seeing an effect. Typically what happens in the foreclosures is once someone's fallen behind in their payments, we'll go through a lien process, and those liens do get added back to maybe the tax rolls. And so we do collect on some of those. Not all of them, but we do collect at least the amount that the liens would occur. But it is a lot of report work that has to be done on our side for those types of foreclosures, and it more affects our cash flow because we don't get the money then, we might get the money later.
We've been talking to John Flansburgh, he's the Public Works Director, and we've been talking about a proposed rate increase. What is the process? We
first went to the council and gave them our assessment and what we saw. They have allowed us to go out with a public process to get comments back to them. So we have been meeting with neighborhood advisory boards, meeting with the businesses and also the builders, and so that they understand what the rate is for. We have information on our website in regards to the rate increases, so people can go there and find out what's happening with it. But so mostly right now it's getting that information out. We want to receive those comments back by June 22nd. So that we can take those comments and prepare them and then share those with the City Council in July. They will be looking at the changes to the rates and any other changes to the ordinances that we are proposing. And once they have those, if they agree with that, we have a chance for a public hearing. That would be the first reading of the ordinance, and then in August we would have the second reading of that ordinance. It would be the path forward. And with those rate increases then occurring come October 1st.
So this is a really open process, and there's plenty of opportunity if you're watching and you want to get involved in this process, you have questions. Just quickly again, what's the dollar amount that the average homeowner will have to pay, more than what they're paying now?
Current rate right now is $29.50, and the rate increase that's scheduled right now would be $1.18 more than that. So we're talking about going from instead of a $1.18 increase to $2.36 an increase. So it would be around $31 to $32 would be the monthly bill.
Monthly bill.
So it's an 8% increase from what it is today.
Okay.
And that would occur for 5 consecutive years. And basically what that will do is actually get us up to about where the Washoe County rate is today. We do believe that is the right rate. And so we are looking to get to that point. And when we did analysis of other jurisdictions in the general area or that are similar to us, that right now we're fairly low. That will actually put us about the middle of the pack. But we do believe that's the fiscal responsive place to go. When I was working with the rating consultants on looking at the changes, one of the things that I noticed was they were looking and recommending to do a lot of bond financing for these improvements. And that would keep the rate low initially, but then with the increases to those bonds and the payment of those bonds, you'd have a lot of payment for those finance charges and long term. And we're not talking about something that we're talking about making a big increase at the plant or a large improvement all at once. We're talking about more of this daily, sustaining, yearly replacement of our collection system and improvements at the plant that need to be made. And it just doesn't make sense to bond for an annual program.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on the program to talk about it. One last thing, if people are watching and they want to get the information, the best place to go is the city's website. Reno.gov.
It'll be in there in the hot topics section of what's occurring there, so people can go in and immediately get to there. We have a couple locations for comments, and we can share those with the viewers as well.
Great. Thank you so much for explaining that.
All right, thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Reno TV.